Okay. Right, so K&F Concept FD to EOS lens adapter. That's what this video is about. Basically, I've got some FD glass and no camera to put it on. I did have a film camera to put it on, but I don't have that camera anymore, but I've kept the glass because it's very good glass, very sharp, especially this 35mm lens. Now the problem is when you try and put it on any DSLR, the flange distance means that unless you get one with the corrective glass, which this one does, then which is basically an extra little lens, sort of like the opposite of a speed booster, I think. Yeah, opposite of a speed booster that you would get from Micro Four Thirds. So it expands, it changes the focal plane of the lens so that it will focus properly on the sensor of the camera, because otherwise it would act like, if you didn't have that glass in there, it would act like a macro extension tube and you wouldn't be able to focus very far at all. So yeah, that wouldn't be very helpful unless I was taking pictures of stuff as a macro lens. Right, so I put this on my 7D and went for a nice little walk. Now this it's the K&F Concept adapter. The blurb that was on Amazon when I bought it at the time, that it may have changed, claimed that you can get infinity focus, that the little bit of glass in there, the little lens I suppose, can give you infinity focus, and I found that not to be the case with this. Now, maybe my copy, it has a manufacturing fault in it, but no, I couldn't get infinity focus, and I noticed that on a lot of the photos I took where I got to the hyperfocal length. I tried the hyperfocal length as well as the full infinity, and it just wouldn't do it. It got close, you know, but it just wasn't there. So yeah, if you want to use it for landscapes, that I wouldn't. It just won't work. And there is some, I have noticed in some of my images, well, all of them really, there is a more noticeable in some than others. There's a distortion, slight distortion in some of the straight lines, both vertical and horizontal, which again isn't that much of a problem. You can correct it a bit more in Lightroom, but I just used some standard lens profile that did most of it, but there is just a little bit of distortion still, which is noticeable on some more than others. Now, as for the quality, the build quality is quite good. It's very solid metal, came in its own box like all their other ones do, nicely bubble wrapped with a little cap at both ends as well, and yeah, so build quality is not bad at all. Now, when I chose to basically use the lens on either f11 or f2.8, f11 to try and get as much depth of field as possible, which you can see in quite a few of them has worked quite well, and then f2.8 for a few as well, where I'm just focusing on something right in front of me. And that's the thing with this lens, if you're using it for focusing within, I'd say about 10 maybe 15-20 feet, then you're going to get most of that in focus one way or another. Anything further away than that is just not going to focus on it, and that's where the infinity focus just doesn't work, which is unfortunate. But you know, for the price I paid for this, it's like it goes for about £35 on their website, I think, maybe a little bit less. So yeah, I mean, I was a bit disappointed with the level of sharpness as well. The level of sharpness wasn't quite there as much as I would have liked. I mean, the lens is a very sharp lens, so I know it can produce really sharp images, but in this case, with this adapter, it just takes a tiny bit off, I have to admit. So everything, it looks pretty good in focus when you look at the picture as a whole, but if you zoom into 100%, there's just a slight bit of softness there that that if you're a pixel people, or if you really want something really sharp, then this definitely isn't the adapter for you. But I shot everything at ISO 800 like I do, and with that tiny bit of softness, I mean everything's fairly sharp, but with that tiny bit of softness, it gives it that more film look overall, which is what I'm going for with my work at the moment. I'm trying to shoot digital film, I suppose, with my DSLRs, and that's what this has enabled me to do with my FD lenses. But the other drawback I noticed, well, a couple of other drawbacks, and they are, I have noticed some fringing, some purple fringing on some of the images when you're pointing anywhere near the sun. Anywhere near the sun at all, you can get more prevalent on anything that's especially anything that's backlit. I did notice anything that's definitely strongly backlit. I got some purple fringing and lens flare, not from the lens itself, I have to say, but from the corrective lens, the K&F Concept corrective lens. I got some lens flare when shooting in the direction of the sun, even though I had a lens hood, a metal lens hood on the lens itself that screws in. I did get some very visible lens flare coming through. I think it must come through, and at the angle, whatever it is, that the adapter, it just bounced back straight back out again. I had these huge sun lines coming straight back out, and I could see it as I was looking through the lens. It was more prevalent when I actually looked at them in Lightroom. So yeah, it has some definite drawbacks, but I would say if you're wanting to do street photography on an old DSLR, and I would go for the crop sensor ones, not full frame, because I think the fringing is a lot worse on the full frame ones, because you get the full width of the adapter for that. But yeah, if you're using a 7D Mark II and 90D, anything like that, then yes, I would go for a slightly longer focal length, say a 50mm lens, because you can get some pretty good stuff close enough up. But if you're, like I said, with the infinity focus, it's just very, very disappointing. So yeah, that's my take on this particular adapter. I won't be buying any more adapters. I do have an FD adapter for my Nikon camera as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to try that out or not, because it doesn't want to fit on the body of my camera properly. It doesn't secure properly. It can pop off. It doesn't click like this one does. And K&F Concept don't do an FD to Nikon F adapter, or at least I couldn't find one. The only one I could find was with Earth, and they're about £76, which is just ridiculous. I'm not going to spend that sort of money on something like that. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the images, and until next time.